Shea, Lex Luthor from Superman, Lois, The Adventures of Lois and Clark.
We know.
Katie McGrath and Mechad Brooks from Supergirl. Followed at 1 o'clock by a Luthor panel with Laura German and Leslie Ann Brandt. Lots going on, guys. Lots to happen.
Alright, as Bill was saying, we're going to have the Supergirl and Lois and Clark panel. So, what's better than one Luthor? Two Luthors, please join me and welcome me to the stage. First of all, Mr. John Shea. The delightful, the charming, the alluring Katie McGrath. And a man who looks so good he doesn't have fashion sense, he has fashion dollars. It's Mechad Brooks!
Hello? Do I get 2 mics? But I want both of them.
And I'm going to sit here because
you're so important you get 2 mics.
No, I just have so many interesting things to say. No.
You probably don't hold the 2 mics.
No, I don't think that would work.
How you guys doing?
Hello, everyone.
Awesome.
There's a little baby. Look.
In a onesie.
You know, jealous.
So, welcome. How is everyone? Enjoyed your weekend so far?
Yeah, it's been great. It's been really good.
Excellent. So, you guys know the drill. If you've got a question for any of our guests, please take a seat. No, stand behind the mic. I'm taking a seat. It's been a long day.
Wait, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
What holiday is it today?
Oh, so it's Queen's birthday.
Ah.
So the Queen, Elizabeth II,
I'm aware of her.
who was born in April holiday, she moved her birthday to June.
Must be nice to be the Queen.
I know, tell me about it. So the Commonwealth, everyone that's part of the Commonwealth.
Does anybody else not think that you kind of want an official birthday as well? There's like my birthday and then there's my official birthday.
Because my birthday is close to Halloween. Can I move mine?
Sure.
Well, this is it, yeah.
Yeah. I actually like mine close to Halloween because people show up like this. It's great.
That would be cool.
It's actually fun. It's really fun.
I love Halloween.
You should come to my birthday. It's going to be great.
Oh, you're inviting me?
Yeah. Yeah, I know. We're friends now.
Ah, I thought he was inviting me.
Has anybody here seen their series? Who's seen Supergirl? Okay, so you know, it's awesome, right? And you know they're on it together, right?
We are?
I have nothing to do with them whatsoever. In fact, I kind of hate them both for my own special reasons, because I was in another whole series called Lois and Clark, which was the Superman series. And so, but now for the first time in history, we are merging our series, and I don't know, thinking about like what is and what could be, you know? Right. You know, because we have a complicated and entwined history. It might be interesting to talk about and certainly answer any questions you have, right?
It is kind of weird that you in a different universe tried to kill me several times. You think about that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the you in the other universe wasn't quite you, was it?
No, I think I'm an improvement. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although,
Jimmy 2.0.
Lex Luthor versus Guardian would be a fight I'd like to see.
I'd win.
Well, duh.
Well, we'll see.
Hold on a second here. I do have to stand up a bit for the Luthors. I think we're good in a fight.
I agree. I'm not going to argue with the Queen. But happy birthday, buddy.
I was about to say.
Right, let's start with a question. Andrew.
Hey, how you going? I think that
Oh God, you again.
Yeah,
oh,
I think that
God.
explains our photographer problem. You see, it's
Oh,
from a
my
different
God,
dimension.
you again.
Yeah. So, I asked the last panel this one. You didn't read your contracts properly, and there's a little clause in there that says you must be in either one of the three, or the three of you have to be in either Great British Bake Off, Survivor,
Great British Bake
or
Off.
Dancing with the Stars.
Great British Bake Off.
Me too. Yeah.
No, you only no. She's dipped it. You have to pick another. So, Dancing with the Stars, or what was the other one? Survivor, or Big Brother. You can be Big Brother or Survivor.
You just can't have my one.
I'm going to pick Survivor because I kind of live like that half the time anyway. I go to Burning Man, and so I'm already used to it.
Are you good at puzzles?
What's that?
Are you good at puzzles?
You, sir, are a conundrum. And we've spoken, so I think that I am.
You are, yes. And you, John?
Listen, life is so stressful when you're fucking Lex Luthor, excuse me. So I refuse to be on your stupid Survivor or dance with any stars. I'm cooking with Katie. I don't care.
We're going to have a
Oh, there's a show.
We're going to have
Well, I personally think cooking is a lot more stressful than eating bugs on a beach somewhere. I'm sorry. I'd rather go catch my food.
We're going to have a cupcake sort of bake-off between the two of you later on today.
I feel like we do it together. Like it's like a family bonding experience.
Yes.
Which would destroy everyone.
That's not reality to me.
I'm not sure if I would eat the Luthor cake, guys. I don't know. I mean, they got kind of a history of...
It's delicious.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it kills Kryptonians.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Hello, lovely. Honestly, that's why I wear heels.
I was gonna be like, oh my god, if you jump and get the question out, that's gonna be amazing.
My question is for you, but you can all answer it. But you played a lot of different characters, and I was wondering which one you think you're most like and which one you're not, and what do you do to get into character for a role?
Which character? I always end up playing these very smart, capable, confident women. I am none of those things. Mechad, I got there before you did.
No. I was going to give you a compliment.
Oh, darling. So when people ask me this question, I'm always like, I play women I wish I was, not the women I am, because the woman I am is shy and awkward and wants to stay in her bedroom and cuddle her dog and drink tea and read books and never leave, because the outside world is scary. So
I can attest to that. I've tried to invite her to dinner many times.
yeah, exactly. So I don't really like any of them. Damaged. Maybe I'm close to Morgana. Although Lena's damaged. Maybe I'm like all of them and I just don't realize it. It's not very self-aware. And to get into the role, I find that costume, hair and makeup helps me quite a lot because obviously you've all seen me and what I like to rock around in and normally, so far from who I am. Normally when I play these very put together people, so by the time I get to set I already don't feel like myself, so it's easier to pretend to be someone else, if that makes any sense.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hi Nick.
Hi,
Hey there, buddy.
I'm good. You, Mechad?
What?
Is that you? How are you?
Oh, I'm good. You cleaned up nice. I saw you in the suit last night.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So my question is, have you taken anything off set from the shows that you previously worked on, that you don't work on anymore?
Cameras down.
Have I taken anything off of set?
Yeah, it's for all three.
Like theft?
No, as a souvenir.
Mechad stole some Christmas decorations from my mom from our Christmas episode.
I steal a lot of things. I mean, like, let's be honest. I take something from every set I work on. So I have stuff from True Blood, I have stuff from Supergirl. I have a Catco cup at my house that I drink coffee from in the morning. And I did steal Christmas ornaments from Kara's loft for Katie's mom. So it was for a good cause.
Very good cause.
That's kind of it. I don't really have sticky fingers, but I like souvenirs. I'm gonna eBay this stuff later, so.
I have something from a set that I want to share with you, only because I still have it and I have it with me right now. Okay, so we shot Lois and Clark at Warner Brothers in Hollywood, at Burbank, and the big sound stages like this. And there was a Lex Luthor soundstage, and I had an office there. And one day, we were getting ready to go have lunch, and the producers were standing by, like, all right, can you get the scene right, please? And it was a dolly shot where the camera's getting closer and closer to me as I'm in my office, and I'm on the phone with the mayor of Metropolis, being played by Sonny Bono, like Sonny and Cher. So I got Sonny Bono off camera reading his lines, and he's saying, Luthor, I want this now. And I'm saying, I'll give it to you when I'm good and ready. And I'm supposed to slam down the phone, the camera's supposed to come in close on me, close up, go to commercial, right? And everybody's supposed to go to lunch. Take 1, take 2, take 3, take 4, take 20. And finally everybody's like, what the heck is going on here? And so I'm smoking a cigar at the same time, and I'm smoking, and the ash is getting longer and longer and longer. Finally, what happens is, the camera focus is wrong. There's something, I mess up the lines. Something's wrong with like 15, 20 takes. Finally, take 21, this is the last one, we're going for lunch, we don't want to go into meal penalty, let's go, and action! And Sonny Bono has his line, and I say, I'll do it when I'm good and ready, and I've got my cigar, and I slam it down on my desk. The camera comes in close, and it's holding, I'm not hearing cut, so I hold my thing. What I don't know is that the ash on my cigar has gotten, when I slammed it, flipped up in the air, out of sight, and lands on my hand. The burning hot ash, and as I'm leaning over my phone and into the camera, I smell my own burning flesh rising into my nostrils. Have you smelled your burning flesh?
It smells like bacon, guys.
No.
Let everybody light their hands on fire right now. Okay, and you'll know what I was feeling. And then the camera was holding, and I just held it and held it and held it. I apparently got this look on my face of total insanity, and everybody, they said, cut! And the producer-director said, you finally discovered Lex Luthor. You finally captured him in that moment. So what I want to say is that I took with me from that set the scar
I see it.
that I have in my hand right now. Yeah, that's a true story.
That's called dedication, ladies and
No,
gentlemen.
that's called desperation, brother.
Please do not go home and set your hands on fire.
I was just wondering, if you could only give one piece of advice for the rest of your life, what would it be?
That is a brilliant question.
That's a really good question.
I'd say, don't worry, it's all going to be okay. Because honestly, no matter how bad things have gotten, everything has always managed to work itself out. And if I could go back to myself in any of those points and tell myself anything, it would just be, listen, it's going to be fine. You will get through this, and you're stronger than you think.
That's fantastic. No, really. I would say being true to yourself is the ultimate truth. Like really finding out who you are and expanding on who you are is really the purpose of your life.
And look, I would just say, I grew up with a father and mother who were both teachers, and so they taught me this, I'll share with you, that everybody is born with certain gifts that we inherit, that are given to us, that we have. I think it's our job to find out what those gifts are, either in ourselves or in our children, in our family, and our friends, and use those gifts to make the world a better place. Whether you're a writer, you're a dancer, you're an actor, you're a musician, you're a mechanic, you're an architect, whatever you do, make the world a better place. Thank you.
Always be yourself. Unless you can be Batman. Then be Batman.
Definitely be Batman. Guys, I just really quickly have a question that we were trying to figure out this morning, me and Damien. My mom asked this question, we didn't know the answer. Does anybody here know what meme actually means? And where it comes from?
I do.
Oh, do you? Anyway, I really...
She knows.
Nearly fell.
It's kind of like a shortened version of mimic. I'm really mispronouncing that. It's like 7 letters long. Basically, it's something that repeats itself and survives through procreation of ideas and transmuting through people. Bohemian Rhapsody is actually a longer living meme than what we think of on the internet today, because everyone knows the words to Bohemian Rhapsody, but no one remembers learning the words to Bohemian Rhapsody. We just all sort of know it through osmosis.
See, Damien, that's an answer. Thank you very much.
It was a Greek word. I found out the definition. But yeah, that is enough.
Thank you very
That was
much.
more concise than my answer.
Very well illustrated.
I was like, it's French for sharing a lot. It is now.
Thank you very much. Sorry, hello. Hi.
Hi, just a quick question for all of you. If you had the choice, would you be a Martian or would you be a Kryptonian?
Nice. I'm going with Martian. Shapeshift, fly, super strength.
I'm going with Martian too, because I just want to be cool like David.
And David Harewood is the coolest guy you've ever met.
I swear that man is boss.
I detest everyone from Krypton. So I'm going to go with Martian too, okay? Here's the thing, let me just say this very quickly. The reason why I detest everyone from Krypton is because when they showed up on Earth, they came with all these inherited powers, you know? And so they made me work so much harder to dominate the world. And my sister now, who is so ably carrying on the tradition, although she's so much better than I am, and I don't know what happened to her.
And
You did, that was the problem. I am a result of you.
And how old are you?
15.
So you actually might end up one day being a Martian. Yeah, we're getting there, buddy. Yeah, give it 15 years. By the time you're my age, you'll be like, this is great. Mars is great this time of year. Yeah.
Hi, this question is more aimed towards Katie and John. But
Thank you.
Your characters can be quite dark. So how do you separate that from your normal life if you've just done a scene?
It's very odd. Over time, you do start to pick up bits of your character, and your character starts to pick up bits from you, especially when you play somebody for a very long time. There's lots of different ways that people portray their characters and lots of different processes. For me, there's something very weird about you knowing something's not real. You intellectually know it's not, but your body doesn't. You emotion. So if you spent a whole day crying, you know you're not sad, but your body feels sad. So it's hard when you go home, you're like, nothing's wrong, but I'm emotionally spent because my body doesn't know the difference than the fact that I've pretended to, you still feel everything. So you can have that well, for me, I can have that kind of hangover where intellectually I'm like, everything's fine, but emotionally I'm broken. That makes sense.
Real answer. Okay, good, right? So the thing is that I don't think of myself as bad at all, which is why I am so bad. The thing about Lex Luthor, and I'm not going to speak for Lena because she's very different, is that remember, he's sort of a sociopath. The definition of a sociopath is somebody who is unconsciously driven to do the things he does. And because you are unconsciously driven to do those things, you feel no guilt, you feel no shame, you feel no remorse, you only feel hunger to do it again. And so I once entered my character, Lex Luthor, and another character I played, into psychoanalysis. And I gave it to an abnormal psychologist at the John Jay College of Criminal Justice, and I said, read this, please. What am I? He said, you're a sociopath. You're not a psychopath. You are someone like a spider who builds a web, people fall into it, you consume them, and then you need to build another web. But the spider doesn't feel any remorse for eating the fly, and Lex Luthor doesn't feel any remorse for anything. So I go home at night, I'm happy.
He's like, I killed everybody. It's a good day.
Productive. Spider-Man, Sailor Moon, epic.
Yeah, Spider-Man Moon. Spider-Moon.
Spider-Man, amazing.
Sailor Man.
And the curtsy.
Rocket Man.
Hello again, Nick.
Hello again.
Just
Since you're all on DC shows, if you could play any Marvel character in film or TV, who would it be and why?
Muggle character?
Marvel.
I was like,
Muggle character was also a good question.
I was like, Zoolander. Or Hansel.
You're definitely a Hansel.
I am not Hansel.
You are Hansel.
Yeah, you kind
You're
of.
Hansel.
You know what? I'll take it as a compliment. I'm going to put some thumbtacks in your cereal at some point. In the next 6 months.
Marvel. It's weird because I've thought about this, and I kind of think that maybe if it was a Morgana playing a Marvel character, no, I actually think she'd be the Winter Soldier. I've thought about this, guys, a lot. Do tell why? Well, because you know, they're both kind of damaged and smoky.
Because Scarlet Witch is so well adjusted.
Well more way adjusted, well better adjusted. She's a woman, she's better capable of handling things.
Mechad? I'm going there.
I'm going to sound like a company man here, but I didn't really grow up on Marvel. I grew up on DC. I really did. And so I'm much more familiar with the DC universe. So if I have to, I mean, I want to play a villain, but for some reason I come into these auditions and everybody sees a nice guy, so that's annoying. But maybe I'd like to play the next villain in Black Panther.
Good answer.
See, now there's the villain, look at that.
The X-Men is...
Oh yeah, X-Men's it, my bad.
Is Marvel, right? So I start, after I did Lois and Clark and played Lex Luthor, Warner Brothers, which was in partnership with Marvel, asked me to star in a series for them called Mutant X. Mutant X, which I did for 3 years for Warner Brothers, was the X-Men Marvel Universe, but I played it was the X-Men as a television series. We shot it in Toronto, it was really fun to do, and I played the leader, the guy, Adam Kane, the guy who created the mutants. And having done that, I have now such amazing compassion for everyone, including myself, who is a mutant. Because I look around and the thing about the mutants is that they are all shunned sort of by society, but they know that they have these special gifts that we talked about before, and they are trying to make the world a better place. So I have to say, I love that X-Men universe, and having been in it, I have great respect for the philosophy behind it, which is that no matter what you look like, what color you are, what you believe in, you have a gift and you have a reason to be happy, you know? So I want to be that guy.
So I'm going to change my answer to Wolverine then.
Yeah. Oh no, I've changed my mind too. I want to be Thor, only so I can work with Taika. I love that man, and it's not actually natural.
So what?
So I can work with Taika? It's not natural how much I love him. Seriously, that man can wear a pineapple romper suit like no one else. So I want to be in any of the Thor movies just to be near him. He directed Ragnarok. He was also, he was the rock guy, what was it called?
Oh, the guy that was in the prison, eh? Oh, we tried to start a revolution, but we ran out of pamphlets.
I love him. So, and What We Do in the Shadows. Oh, God.
They're making a sequel in the minute.
Next.
No, they're making a TV series.
Oh, TV series.
Yeah. Sorry.
Princess Jasmine.
Hi, Meredith, love. How's it going?
Good, thanks. Hi, everyone. I was just wondering if you remember the moment when you knew you wanted to be an actor, and what journey led to that discovery?
I was in my mother's belly. No, it's not a real answer. I was 15 years old, and I was a really good basketball player. I was really, really good, and I turned out to be All-American in the United States. But at 15, my mother was like, my dad played professional football, so my mom knows how that life goes, and she wanted something. She wanted me to have options, right? So, and I was a great student, but she said, okay, so I know that you have your whole career planned out, but I want you to go to this camp. And this camp was called Leadership Enrichment Arts Program. And so in this program, I saw my first symphony, saw my first opera, and I saw my first, like live plays where I didn't fall asleep and the whole thing. And I was like, wow. And I got to meet people and who were in the programs, and I met this opera singer who looked like me from Houston, and he was singing opera in Russian and Italian, living in Switzerland. I was like, you can do that? That's crazy. So I did my first play when I was 15, and I just fell in love with it.
Awesome.
Mine was a little later. I had already become an actor, to be honest. I know, it's weird. It was about halfway through the first season of Merlin. And I had one of those days, and I was very aware on Merlin that I was the only person who didn't go to drama school, and everybody else had gone and spent 3 years making their mistakes in the comfort of a classroom, and I was doing it in front of 7 million people. So I was very aware of that. And I remember having a day that just nothing went right. I couldn't get the scenes, I couldn't get the words out, I couldn't do what I thought I could in my head. And I went back to the hotel room and I sat down and I started to cry because I wasn't getting it and I was frustrated. And then I suddenly realized why I was supposed to be an actor. Because for the first time when something got hard, I didn't want to give up. All I wanted to do was go in the next day and do it better. And then I was like, yeah, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Because no matter how hard it got, I didn't want to walk away. And it's still hard, and I still go home and cry on bad days, but I still want to go in the next day and do it right.
By the way, she doesn't have bad days.
That's because I've got Mechad to make me look good.
She's really hard on herself, so, you know, just show her love.
I love you.
And energy when you see her on television. Just send out love vibes to her because she's way too hard on herself. One of the best actresses I've ever had the pleasure of working with. Round of applause for Katie McGrath.
This is when you know your job is good, because you get to spend your days with a man like this. He makes you feel safe, and he makes you feel loved and cherished, and he's a good fucking man, and I am very lucky.
I love you too.
Love you too. Can you feel the love tonight, guys?
I'll tell you that I discovered this a little bit later than Mechad, and maybe a little bit earlier than Katie, but I was, my sophomore year at university, I was playing football. I was not an All-American. In fact, I was injured really badly, and I couldn't walk. I had a knee injury, and the captain of the football team said, "You're useless to us, you know, after this game, so, but you can go buy beer tonight because you have a really good fake ID." So he sent me over to get my wallet, and I went over to the back of the theater. I was on the debating team as well, so I was sort of a nerd that way, playing football and debating. But I went over to the debate room to get my fake ID, and the head of the theater saw me and asked me to sit and read a play. At the end of the play, she said, "Okay, you got the part. We start rehearsal on Monday." And I did my first play. And it was a Shakespeare play called Much Ado About Nothing.
Great.
I played the lead in it. I played Benedict in it. And suddenly I found myself on stage instead of on a football field, sword fighting and speaking in iambic pentameter in front of people. And it was like I had finally discovered what it is I was meant to do. And it turns out that the theater is the perfect synthesis of football and debating. It's like a team sport with words. Anyway, so I tell you this story only because if bad things happen to you, like your knee is destroyed, good things could come out of that if you keep a positive attitude and you're open to the surprise that constantly unfolds, right? So that's it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, love.
Hello. This question is directed at Katie. And I would...
Can I just stop you for a second here? There's actually this young man's going to go first, and then we'll come back, if that's all right.
If you were a character other than yourself in Supergirl or the Superman series, who would it be? And why?
Again, I'm going to go with David Harewood. No, I just want to be David. I don't want to be his character.
I think it's from a different show.
Different show, not our own show? Or within our show?
Yeah.
Within our show. Yeah, I just want to be David. I want to wake up and be David.
I mean, I think it counts as an answer. I think I'd be Superman.
Yeah.
Let me just say something about that answer, okay? The coolest thing about what's happened in the last 20 years since I did my show is that when I did Superman, Jimmy Olsen, or James Olsen, was a red-haired, freckled white kid with Norwegian background who was a cub reporter at the Daily Planet. Cut to 2018, and he is...
What's changed?
A super dude named James Olsen. He is got a secret identity. He's a guardian of the universe. He is like, this is the greatest thing, right, about this world that you're asking us about. It's constantly in flux. It's constantly reflecting the real world that's happening around us. If you go back to the like Superman stuff, it was good.
1940, yeah.
1940, it was reflected what was going on in the 40s, pre-World War II. And now, here we are 60, 70 years later, and it's reflecting what's going on now. This multicultural, global thing. The battle of good against evil that goes on there. So I don't have a good answer for you, except that I would like to see what it would be like to play Superman sometime. Because it's sometimes really good to put yourself in the person that you don't like the most and see life through their eyes, So thank you.
Great question. Thank you, buddy.
Hi, love.
I'm sorry about that. Anyway, I was wondering that since you play so many different characters, if they all sat down together in a bar and discussed, or would they discuss their individual philosophies and ideas about how the world should be and all that, or would they be more likely to scheme against each other and try to eliminate potential threats?
I don't think they try to eliminate eventual threats, but I think they would sit all around and go, yeah, how can we take over the world? Seriously, a bunch of very strong, capable women in a room having whiskey, you know that some things are going to be planned, some things are going to be fixed, and then ultimately trouble will ensue.
And then the universe would explode because they're all you.
Yeah, you don't need more than one of me around. That's a very good question.
Very interesting question. That's amazing.
I've got a couple more questions for you guys, all of you. First one.
You do one and then just rotate so everyone gets
Okay, well, it's sort of two questions in one.
Go for
so
it.
It's on your show, it's kind of combined now. Which character would you want to kill off? Or, personally, which one do you hate the most that you'd want to see dead? And
No.
I can tell you that I have zero answers to your question automatically right now.
And which character would you personally like to see either as a girlfriend, boyfriend, or married to?
I'm not going to answer either one of those. Sorry, thanks.
Character, not actor.
Not going to answer either one of those.
I think we're very lucky on our show in the fact, and I came in a year later, and I've never walked into a show that was already up and running and felt so at home and like so welcomed. Because like I said, I only came in for a couple of episodes, and they treated me no different as somebody who was ostensibly just passing through as somebody who had been there for the entire year beforehand.
Yeah, like total crap.
I didn't work with you in the first few episodes. There you go, you see, there you go.
That was the problem.
So, there's no one I don't want to, I like them all.
Not actor, but from a fan sort of point of view.
No, even from a fan point of view. Even from a fan point of view.
Well, is there any of them you'd like to be married to or something? Even your own character?
Yeah, that's probably not something that they're going to answer.
That's not a fair question to ask us because it can be tweeted out and such. Katie says that she wants this person to die, and that's not true. You know what I mean?
I do not want anyone
no offense, but it's not really good for our careers to answer the question.
It's also one of those things, if they got it right, if there was a plot point that the writers were thinking about, they might think, hey, somehow they've got inside knowledge and they're letting spoilers out, which again is a breach of their contract, so it's probably not a safe question to ask. But
what about in the Marvel universe?
Well, again, what if they want to...
I think all the Marvel characters should die. Every single one, except Wolverine.
Who's the one that has died?
He's dead, yeah.
Wait, what?
Have you not seen Logan?
Who?
Spoilers.
No.
Got a question.
Spoiler? Is the Hulk dead too?
No, he's just whipped out.
I'm kidding.
I am Groot.
No, hey, we said no inappropriate questions.
Well played.
Best question ever. Although I might get you guys to answer it later on because I'm curious.
Just in private though,
I didn't catch that. What?
I am Groot.
Hello, my love.
Hi.
I've watched every episode twice.
She's watched every episode twice, and she's an absolutely massive fan of the show, and she has a question.
Okay. What's your question?
Here, let me come down. Let me come down and you can tell me the question and then I'll tell them, okay? How's that? Oh, it's a really good question, guys.
What is it?
What have you learned about yourself from playing the character on the show?
Wow.
It's good, right?
Hey, round of applause for that question. That's a great question. What's your name? Brianny. You have a bright future ahead of you because you're a critical thinker. That's amazing. Katie, you first, please. I'm glad you guys got that. That's great. My comedy's really weird.
I've learned that it's okay to be who you are, and that who you were doesn't define who you're going to be.
I should have went first. That was a really good answer, baby. Thunder Stealer. I have learned that you don't need a cape to be a hero. That each and every one of us can be a hero in our own rights, and that you don't need superpowers to be a hero.
Good answer, great answer. I want to say that people are not always what they seem to be. And the thing that I loved about playing Lex Luthor is that people thought that he was one way, but he was actually another way altogether. Inside, he was a kind of lonely guy. His parents abused him badly. He grew up in a place in Smallville called the Suicide Slums. He had to fight his way up to earn what he got in life. And he learned, and I learned from him, that if you quit, it's over. It's hard to forgive the people who hurt you. And Lex Luthor had a really bad problem with forgiveness, okay? He still hates Superman. He hates him. He's never going to forgive him, ever. And that's why the battle goes on. But I learned from Lex that that's a mistake. And that it's better to forgive the people who hurt you, okay? There you go.
Great question.
Also, you are the most adorable cat I've ever seen.
Meow.
Yes, your mask matches my boots. We are coordinated.
She's going to give you her boots later.
Oh God, seriously, I love these boots.
Sorry?
I love these boots.
Well, I mean, you told me before you love children even more, so.
Fair point.
Those are your boots.
Hello, love.
Hello. Is there a difference to the way you approach roles that have sort of a backstory or canon to them, to sort of original roles, or what do you change in how you prep for yourself?
Would you ask that again, please?
Oh, the Luthors and James Olsen, there's a backstory, the comics have been running forever compared to, you know, if you got handed a script for an original idea or something off the blacklist.
Yes.
Is there a difference in how you prepare?
I feel like there's more of a responsibility, especially with these characters, because they've been around for so long and people have such an emotional attachment to them that you have to respect all the people that have come before you and all the people that love it. So you have to do your research and be aware that you are not just playing the person now, but you're playing the person for the last 100 years.
Yeah, to her point, yes, I think that you do approach those characters differently. However, as time goes on, you realize that there really is no difference, because eventually, no matter, so Tom Hanks said it best, Who was the astronaut he played in Apollo 13?
Jim Lovell.
Jim Lovell. He apologized to Jim Lovell because he said, whoever you might have been, people are going to think you're me. Right? So, yes, I approached Jimmy Olsen, in a certain way. And then I got to the point where I was just kind of like, he's just going to be me. And for generations that didn't know who he was before me, I can't play the Norwegian, like, freckle-faced cover reporter. I can't do that. Like, that's not who I am. So that would be a disadvantage to me. So eventually, yes, you do initially start off like, okay, you do the research, you respect the character, the canon of the character, and you incorporate that as much as possible. But at a certain point in time, the character has to become yours, or what are you doing?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question because, to their point, yes, you always feel a responsibility when you're playing a real person. I played, like Bobby Kennedy, and I did a lot of research, went to the Kennedy Library. I've done a lot of other historical characters, real people. They're like their biography, and you can look it up. But I honestly, when I was asked to play Lex Luthor, I felt like I was playing a real person, and I went back and did the research, and I looked at what Gene Hackman had done, I looked at what everybody had done before me. Not many people had played it before me, but I read the comic books as a kid. I just knew there was a mythology that I had to be true to. But then, given that, I would deal with the actors that I was with and the writers that I was with because we were trying to do something new and different. And like Mechad just said, and Katie, then you make it your own and you put your own stamp on it because that's why you've been hired, right? So you internalize the history and then that sets you free to create something brand new for a new audience at a different time. Okay?
Oh, and sorry, just as an aside, there's a joke in a kid's counting book, and the line is, Lex Luthor stole 50 cakes. That's a lot of cakes.
All right, it's true.
So, working on a movie, obviously you've got a very clear arc for what your character's going to be. When you're working on TV, how much of a heads up do the writers or the executive producers give you of what's coming up for your character? Like,
sorry, can I stop you? You said how much is it up to?
How much heads up?
How much advance notice? Like, did they tell you this season you're going to become Guardian, or did they say this season Lex Luthor's going to get exposed and you're going to have to shave your head and do all of that?
It depends on the show and it depends on the writers. We had an old showrunner who could not keep a secret at all, and we were like, all right, so 3 years from now, like, hold on, slow up, buddy. What's happening next episode? And then I've had other writers on other shows where you don't know what's happening until you get the script. And so it just kind of depends on how the show is run.
I mean, exactly what Mechad said. Even from episode to episode to season, sometimes they give you a very general idea, but for Supergirl particularly, we filmed 23 episodes, so they don't give you all of the details. And a lot of the time, I think as the season goes on, things that they thought were going to be important become less important, and other things come out of the woodwork. So I think it depends, especially because we filmed such a long period of time. But there is something exciting about playing a character where you don't quite know where it's going to go, because like you said, on a movie, you know the start, beginning, and end, unless you're working on, I don't know, Star Wars, where they tell you nothing. And so there's something very comforting about that, but there's also something very exciting about doing what we do, where you don't quite know what's going to happen. So, also means I can't give spoilers, which is good.
Yeah, this is all absolutely accurate. Lois and Clark has done the same way. You know that when you make a television series, you shoot a pilot, and then the writers have something called Bible, which lays out, let's say, for the next 22 episodes. It's kind of like an outline where everything's going to go. They haven't written those scripts yet, so even they are kind of improvising as the writer's room progresses over the course of 8 months or 9 months of work. So they may not know. They know in broad strokes, but oftentimes, because the part of the thrill for them is to see how the characters are interacting, how the audience is reacting to it, and to shape the series as they're going on. I did know at the end of the first season that I was going to fake my own suicide. And the only input I had into that, I said, do you mind if I do like a Jimmy Cagney moment? And they said, what do you mean? I said, well, because my favorite movie from Cagney, which was shot at Warner Brothers, where we were shooting, I said, is when he's on top of the oil refinery, and he goes, top of the world, ma, top of the world, bam, bam, boom, right? And the oil refinery blows up. And so I said, can I say that line? And they said, top of the world? I went, yeah, top of the world. And they said, yeah. So anyway, so the writers are also open to the contributions from their actors. Sometimes, you know?
It goes back into also what Mechad was saying beforehand. You start out playing a character and it's something that somebody else has created, and then over time it becomes what you've created. So they start writing for a character, and then over time they start writing for you as the character, and then as an actor there's a shift over a long period that, you know, you become who you're playing, or who you're playing becomes you. There you go.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Great question, thank you.
I'd like to ask Mechad, how come that Kryptonite was green and not blue?
There is like a historical meaning to this.
Yeah, there's, I mean, green Kryptonite, okay, so different colored Kryptonites do different things. I'm not sure what blue Kryptonite does, but green Kryptonite is the one that I'm familiar with. And the one that's in the Richard Donner movies that I grew up with. And that's the one that hurts, that basically takes away the photonic power of a Kryptonian to use the sun and turn that into superpower energy.
But if you had a different colour, wouldn't you be more original?
Well, we had red Kryptonite in an episode.
Black Kryptonite.
Yeah,
We're going to do all the colours of the rainbow.
Yeah.
Well done. Here. Blue Kryptonite is a variety of Kryptonite. It has no discernible effect on Kryptonians, but it is deadly to Bizarros. It is not deadly to Blend Z, however. It seems to give it the power to create more Bizarros. In Smallville, it removes Kryptonian powers in addition to killing Bizarros. Thank you, Google.
Where did she go?
She disappeared. Somebody had Kryptonite.
Wait, this
she
is
never
really,
existed.
wait, hold on, time out. This is really freaking me out. Where did she go?
She dematerialized.
She ran off in the middle of a question. That's amazing.
Yeah.
She is blue Kryptonite. Why wasn't it blue?
Bizarro.
Oh, she's back.
Brandy.
Hello, darling.
I know your question.
Are you back? You're back for the boots, aren't you?
You're like, when can I have the shoes? Yeah.
You got a question, love?
What's the hardest thing you've had to do while playing your character?
Run in heels.
For me, honestly, for me, standing there. I just hate standing in one place for a long time. So if you ever watch the show, you'll always see me doing. I'm a leaner, so I hate doing this.
He also does like to walk around scenes, which makes scenes much longer to film. Because like, no, I'm not just going to stand here. I'm going to pace around the office and stand at the desk. And I'm just going, God, we're never getting out of here.
I'm like, oh, that gives me 2 more hours with Katie.
Aww, liar.
I just made news.
When I was shooting Lois and Clark in California, I was living in New York. So I had to fly every week for 8 months back and forth across the country, 6,000 miles every single week. So I'd get on a plane on Sunday night, and I would land in Los Angeles on Monday, and I would shoot Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, get on a plane on Los Angeles on Wednesday night, fly back so I could see my wife and kids. So Lex Luthor was perpetually jet-lagged, and it made me very grumpy and crazy, and I think that's why I was good in the part, but also it was really hard for me to do, because I think I aged about 20 years in about 1 season. Yeah. So.
Thank you.
Kia ora koutou. I just wanted to ask, does you have a favourite episode that you've filmed throughout Supergirl mainly?
The stick poke episode. That's where we all go into the dark valley. Stick poke kind of pokes me with a stick. Honestly, only because, not for a lot of reasons, but that was a really tough episode to film, and those were particularly, all that Dark Valley stuff was really hard. And to get through it, all I remember is Melissa, Connor, and me just being really silly for like 2 days.
What's new?
Fair, to be fair. So I just have very nice memories of filming that episode. Also, I got to wear trousers. Which is a big deal for Lena.
It's hard to say, but I would say probably, I don't know the name of the episode, but it's the one where I get unmasked. It just came out fairly recently. I think it's 3/18. And I had just gotten into a car accident, so that entire episode I'm going through a pretty severe concussion. And there were some times I had to like almost lay down. I couldn't walk. Like it was bad. But Katie was so amazing in these scenes with me, and she was so open as an actress and as a friend, and just sort of got me through this really tough time with this really demanding episode. And I didn't know how it was going to come off. And I was like, man, this is good. I'm going to be horrible. And one of the biggest episodes I have. And somehow the editor saved it.
No, that's not true. There's a scene where we are sitting in the boardroom, and Mechad was really sick that day from his concussion, and you know we were all trying to be very careful of him, but it was his big moment, sort of this very big long speech. And when he came to do it, I shit you not, the man made me cry. You know, you just honestly, all it was doing, there was nothing in the scene except for Mechad delivering his speech. And I've never watched somebody sort of step out of themselves so much, because you were in a lot of pain. You were somewhere else, and deliver so beautifully what you were supposed to. And you know, I am dead inside, but it made me cry. Dead inside.
Yeah, and I'll just say this. It was a really special episode for me because we got to put racial issues in the context of bullying where they belong. So that was very special for me.
Thank you. And I'll just say that what Katie said earlier is that writers get to know you. They start to write for you, and you become the character becomes you, and there's this blurring that takes place. I grew up doing Shakespeare a lot in New York on the stage, and so I wanted to bring some Shakespearean elements to Luthor and to Superman series, because for me he was always a Richard III kind of character. King Richard III, the famous sociopath who ruled England, who was in the play a hunchback. But anyway, in the second season, I said, I would like to come back and strip myself of all of my worldly trappings. No tower, no money, no tuxedo, no nothing, no hair, nothing. I want to shave myself and I want to live in the sewers. And when I come back and see Lois, who I'm still in love with, I want to surprise her and pretend to be somebody else. So I had them create makeup where I was 80 years old and in a wheelchair, and I spent hours and hours with latex on my face, and I come up in a wheelchair and I see her, and she has no idea that it's me, and then I tear off the latex and I do this speech from Richard III, which is in this Lady Anne scene where the King Richard says to Lady Anne, yes, I killed your husband, but I did it because I love you. And so I then took those lines and we rewrote them for Superman, and I said, yes, I did everything that you say I did, but I did it because I love you, Lois. And so it was so much fun for me to weave a little bit of Shakespeare into Superman mythology, and I have to say that was the most fun and the greatest challenge.
Cool, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so we've got time for one more question.
Hi, I respect you guys as actors and everything, and just love your answers, and it inspired me to come up and just ask you personally. I heard your answer to the young lady before, and yours was no matter what you've done in the past, it doesn't determine who you are in the future. You know, your answer, don't have to have the cape on to be a superhero. You know, and your answer, my friend, was forgiveness. Hey, sounds like you're one family, you've molded together and you've come up with these beautiful answers. I'm just wondering, I'm a bit of a soul searcher myself, and how you've come to this kind of enlightenment in your lives personally to be able to come up with answers like that. You know? And I'm just wondering, what has inspired you in that path of enlightenment?
That's a beautiful
I think
question.
you guys have
Beautiful
found
question.
it.
Beautiful question, brother.
Mechad, I think this is in your area.
May 20th, 2009, I passed away. I died. I flatlined. And I came back. And the perspective that gave me as a human made me realize that I'm only part human, and that we're all only part human, and that there's a way to look at this life as a soul having a human experience. I'll say that again. There's a way to look at this life and understanding that you are a soul having a human experience. And when you remember that, life changes. Every saint has a past, every sinner has a future. So when you remember these types of things, and then 2 years later to the day, May 20th, 2011, I got hit by a car and went into a coma. And I had a very similar experience of a shock, a wake up. And I can tell everybody here that there is, I mean, listen, I don't, it doesn't matter what you believe, it doesn't matter what you have been taught. I have talked to other people who've been through the same experience that I have, and there is an afterlife. There is somewhere that you go that you know. There is somewhere that you remember that you go. And I see this light in you, brother, in particular, that you're very close to grabbing. And it's a big, big light. A very big light, man.
Big light, and I'll share it with everybody. Share it with everybody.
Yeah. And the thing is like this. The only thing that you have to do is get out of your own way. Forget the opinions that you've learned in the course of your life. Forget your own opinions, because these are affected by the brain. These are affected by the circumstances that you've had in the past, however many years you've been on this earth as this personality. Remember the spirit. Remember the connection that you have to nature, to the spirit of whatever you want to call that. And as soon as the more you remember that, the more you're going to evolve. The more love is going to matter. And if love is truly your purpose, this evolution is easy. Navigating the spirit is easy. And becoming a better person is easy. So it's just the connection. Just remember that connection you have. And get out of your own way. Yeah, brother.
And I think there's no better way to end our panel. So please, Christchurch, put your hands together.
Good job, bro.
As we bid a sad but sweet farewell.
Thank you.
The beard, isn't it?
Everybody, thank you.
Katie, Mechad, John, thank you so much.
Everyone.
Christchurch, make some noise.